Chuck Norris takes on chemtrails. Martial arts legend accuses sky criminals of waging secret war on public. Some say that Merle Haggard and Prince recently died of lung ailments caused by chemtrails secretly administered locally because of their outspoken criticism of chemtrails. Now Chuck Norris has also spoken out publicly. Will he mysteriously die next? Actor and activist Chuck Norris called out the sky criminals in his latest op-ed examining several pieces of evidence showing a global geoengineering scheme may possibly already be underway. In a shocking WorldNet Daily editorial, the Walker Texas Ranger star warned governments may already be covertly subjecting populations to weather modification experiments. Highlighting a 2003 National Center for Biotechnology information abstract which concluded that aerosol immunization seems a promising method of vaccination, Norris asserted he found it doubtful the U.S. government has not already tested the method or others on U.S. populations. Over the past 13 years since the study, does anyone think it's possible that such mass vaccinations or immunizations have occurred by air in trial locations in the U.S.? Norris asks. How many plane-dropping chemical cocktails have already been sprayed around the world in the name of securing public health? Whatever the intent or justification, and whether or not the purpose is for mass vaccinations or some other devious plot, writes Norris, if you don't believe there's some smoke screening in the sky trails above you, I have a London Bridge to sell you in Lake Havasu City, Arizona. The martial arts legend, who claims he and his wife have witnessed geoengineering over their Texas ranch, goes on to suggest there may be a possible cover-up afoot after the nixing of a study last year proving harmful human side effects related to geoengineering. Interestingly, notes Norris, on September 2, 2015, just 2 weeks after it was published, Drive J. Marvin Herndon's entire 16-page scientific article was suddenly and completely retracted from the journal based upon only 2 chemical composition questions and an overarching explanation with no further explanation than this. The language of the paper is often not sufficiently scientifically objective for a research article. Norris' search for answers follows the deaths of major celebrities who had also decried the global chemtrail phenomenon, such as country music legend Merle Haggard. Norris also referred to lyrics from the song Dreamer by late pop star Prince, who had also spoke out about chemtrails during a PBS appearance in 2009. Prince, who just passed away this past week, sang in his song, Dreamer, while the helicopter circles us, this theory's getting deep, think they're spraying chemicals over the city while we sleep? From now on I'm staying awake, you can call me a dreamer too, wake up, wake up. For those who are unfamiliar with the subject and stratospheric lunacy, let me reiterate a few definitions. Geoengineering is the artificial modification of Earth's climate systems through 2 primary technologies, solar radiation management or SRM and carbon dioxide removal, or CDR. CDR technologies include bioenergy with carbon capture and storage, biochar, direct air capture, ocean fertilization and enhanced weathering, according to Wikipedia. SRM technologies seek to reflect sunlight and thus reduce global warming. Proposed examples include the creation of stratospheric sulfate aerosols. Stratospheric sulfate aerosols create a global dimming effect that has made them a possible candidate for use in solar radiation management. Climate engineering projects to limit the effect and impact of climate change due to rising levels of greenhouse gases. Delivery of precursor sulfide gases such as sulfuric acid, hydrogen sulfide, H2S, or sulfur dioxide, SO2, by artillery, aircraft, and balloons has been proposed. Chemtrailing is the public's term for the classified, covered and ongoing artificial modification of Earth's climate systems using reflective nanomaterials, aerosols, to reflect sunlight. The aerosols are dispersed via jet aircraft trails that expand into reflective artificial clouds. Sarah Zielinski, an award-winning science writer and editor, wrote a piece in December 2015 for the Smithsonian, titled, "Airplane Contrails May Be Creating Accidental Geoengineering." In the article, Zielinski explained, geoengineering involves the manipulation of an environmental process in such a way, usually deliberate, that it affects the Earth's climate. Zielinski cites Charles Long from the NOAA's Earth System Research Laboratory in Boulder, Colorado, who reported at a press conference this past week at the American Geophysical Union Fall meeting in San Francisco, "This haze is caused by airplanes, and it is gradually whitening blue skies. We might be actually conducting some unintentional geoengineering here. Many other scientists would say, as we shall see in a moment, intentional geoengineering." Long went on to explain, its existence demonstrates yet another way that humans might be altering the climate system, and you can see this with your own eyes. "I know, because my wife, Gina, and I have seen it in the skies over our own Texas ranch." Chuck Norris provides real solutions to our county's problems in a way to reawaken the American dream in his bestseller, Black Belt Patriotism. Kevin Trenberth of the National Center for Atmospheric Research concluded, "It seems quite possible that Long is seeing something that's real." Long still calls the haze a mystery, but at the moment primarily blames air traffic exhaust and other aerosols as the most likely culprits of those particles. But is the origin of it all so unintentional and innocent? Or are there deliberate sky criminals who are also chemtrailing above us with other chemical agents? Long himself is puzzled how certain areas around the country, like one in Oklahoma, have significant sky whitening yet don't get as much known air traffic. When Snopes was investigating the recent accusations that NASA was spraying lithium, the anti-manic psychiatric medication, into the atmosphere and, hence, onto Americans, the liberal fact-finding website even had to confess that, buried among the tinfoil were a few actual facts. It was true that a 2003 study examined the feasibility of mass vaccination by air. The actual 2003 abstract from the National Center for Biotechnology Information, NCBI, a part of the U.S. federal government's National Library of Medicine, a branch of the National Institutes of Health, reads, "The feasibility of using aerosol vaccines to achieve mass and rapid immunization, especially in developing countries and disaster areas, is being assessed on the basis of current available information. The aerosol mode of vaccine introduction, which best follows the natural route of many infections, may first lead to development of immunity at the portal of entry, and may also induce a more generalized defense. The recommended optimal way of introducing an aerosol vaccine is nasal breathing, which is more suitable for geriatric and pediatric populations, permits use of greater antigen volumes, and allows easier monitoring of results. Technical requirements for ideal aerosol vaccines and delivery systems, possible adverse effects, and cost-effectiveness are other issues addressed. Several thousand human subjects have been aerosol vaccinated over a period of many years in Russia with live-attenuated strains against many diseases. Extensive field trials in South America with aerosolized live-attenuated measles vaccine have also been successful, and excellent results have been reported with pilot projects employing inactivated or live-attenuated aerosol influenza A vaccine. We conclude that aerosol immunization seems a promising method of vaccination. Although some basic information is still lacking, this method has already been used successfully in large populations and has therefore passed the phase of initial feasibility evaluation. Emphasis added by me. Over the past 13 years since the study, does anyone think it's possible that such mass vaccinations or immunizations have occurred by air in trial locations in the U.S.? How many plane-dropping chemical cocktails have already been sprayed around the world in the name of securing public health? When the heads of the Center for Disease Control and Prevention publicly sound the alarm that the Zika virus is scarier than we initially thought and the mosquito transmission ranges have increased from 12 states to 30 in just weeks, does anyone think there's discussion of the NCBI 2003 study? Whatever the intent or justification, and whether or not the purpose is for mass vaccinations or some other devious plot, if you don't believe there's some smoke screening in the sky trails above you, I have a London Bridge to sell you in Lake Havasu City, Arizona. Supreme among the evidence for the smoke and mirrors in the skies above and in halls of Washington is the work of Dr. J. Marvin Herndon, an American interdisciplinary scientist who earned his Bachelor of Arts degree in physics in 1970 from the University of California, San Diego, and his PhD in nuclear chemistry in 1974 from Texas A&M University. Herndon wrote an article that was reviewed and published on August 11, 2015, in the International Journal of Environmental Research and Public Health, titled, Evidence of Coal Fly Ash Toxic Chemical Geoengineering in the Troposphere, Consequences for Public Health. Again, the abstract from the article says it all. The widespread, intentional, and increasingly frequent chemical emplacement in the troposphere has gone unidentified and unremarked in the scientific literature for years. The author presents evidence that toxic coal combustion fly ash is the most likely aerosolized particulate sprayed by tanker jets for geoengineering, weather modification and climate modification purposes, and describes some of the multifold consequences on public health. Two methods are employed. 1. Comparison of 8 elements analyzed in rainwater, leached from aerosolized particulates, with corresponding elements leached into water from coal fly ash in published laboratory experiments, and 2. Comparison of 14 elements analyzed in dust collected outdoors on a high-efficiency particulate air (HEPA) filter with corresponding elements analyzed in unleached coal fly ash material. The results show, 1. The assemblage of elements in rainwater and in the corresponding experimental leachate are essentially identical. At a 99% confidence interval, they have identical means, t-test, and identical variances, f-test, and 2. The assemblage of elements in the HEPA dust and in the corresponding average unleached coal fly ash are likewise essentially identical. The consequences on public health are profound, including exposure to a variety of toxic heavy metals, radioactive elements, and neurologically implicated chemically mobile aluminum release